Hi, this is Mr. New, and welcome to another episode of Flash Professional CS5 for East Career and Technical Academy. In this episode, we're going to be talking about the multiplane, also known as parallax scrolling technique, using motion tweens. That's where our character will be standing in one place and the background will be going by, giving the illusion of motion. We will also be editing motion paths. We'll see a little bit about looping and a little bit about the motion editor. We're also going to learn a new technique in animating our character using motion tweens and only having to animate one limb and copying that as its own symbol and bringing it back in with nested symbols. A lot to cover, so let's go ahead and get started. First thing we want to do is we're going to go ahead and zoom in on our cowboy character here. And notice that he only has one leg and one arm. That's because we're going to go ahead and copy that and animate it. So let's unlock our cowboy. We'll go ahead and lock our road for right now. If we double click on him, I've already animated the body, leg, head, and arm. In fact, that body and head, as you see, is just a stationary object. The leg and arm has been animated. If I scrub through this, you see the animation. We're going to go ahead and copy the leg. So I'm going to click on the first frame, shift click the last frame, right click, and we're going to go down to copy frames. If I go up to insert new symbol, let's call this leg, and it's a graphic symbol. That's what we want. Hit OK. Now we're going to right click on that blank keyframe, the clear keyframe, and we're going to paste frames. So there is our leg out there all by itself. Let's go ahead back to scene one. And we are now going to double click on the cowboy again, click on the first frame of the arm, shift click the last frame of the arm, right click, copy frames, insert, new symbol, title it arm, OK, right click on the blank keyframe, and we're going to paste frames. There's our arm. If I go back to scene one again, take a look at the library. We now have an arm and we also have a leg. We're going to go ahead and insert those into our cowboy animation. So I will double click on him one more time, and right above the head I'm going to go ahead and click on the head layer and create a new layer. And I'm going to go ahead and drag this leg out to the stage, hit Q for our free transform. Now, we don't have to, but I'm going to go ahead and move our pivot point up. We wouldn't have had to have moved the pivot point there because no matter where the pivot point is, if I scrub, it's still going to animate the same way. But the pivot point is nice because it will help me guide that leg into position. I'm going to rename layer 2 as left leg, because that's where it's going to wind up because it is below the other leg. And we need to have it in an opposite stance. Right now it's not going to work. Otherwise the legs are going to be going in the same direction. If I click on that leg and I go to my properties panel and down to looping, I can set which frame the loop is going to begin. I'm going to go ahead and start my loop at frame 9. So when I hit enter, this leg now has flipped back. Why? Because that is the 9th frame of the animation. If I go ahead and put this into position, in fact that pivot point should be up a little bit higher right about there, and I'm going to shorten this leg just a tiny bit, and I'm also going to go to style brightness and I'm going to darken this leg down to about a negative, say negative 28. So it looks like it's further away. So now when I scrub, I get that leg passing on through and it looks like it's further away. We're going to do the same thing with the arm. Let's go ahead and click on our head again. We're going to add another new layer. This one we're going to label as left arm. And with that selected, we're on frame 1 again. Let's go ahead to our library, grab the arm, and bring the arm on out to the stage as well. Once again, I'm going to move that pivot point into position. And while clicking on the arm, I'm going to go to Properties and set my first frame to frame 9 again. As I now pull that into position, line that up with the other arm, we're going to shorten it also just a tiny bit. And we're also going to darken it just a tiny bit. Maybe not quite as dark as 27, but maybe around 16. So now as we scrub through, we've got him walking. So that's a fast and easy way to animate our character by creating one animation and copying and pasting it into an animated symbol and then dropping it in. Let's go back to scene 1. So that's the first step we're taking. Let's go ahead out to 100%. And now what we want to do is we want to start animating. So our cowboy is going to walk onto the stage. When he reaches the middle of the stage, he is going to remain stationary while he's walking, and all the trees and cactus and background and road is going to go by as if he's walking. So from our perspective, the items in the foreground are going to move real fast. The road is going to move a little bit less fast. The trees and cactus back there, slower still. And the mountains are going to barely move past to give us that parallax scrolling, or also known as multi-plane animation. We are going to create motion tweens, and we're going to drag them way out. So let's go ahead first with the sky. Actually, we could start with the sky because the sky is not going to be moving. Let's go to about frame 160. In fact, let's go 165 just to be a good measure. If I go ahead and hit F5, that brings my sky all the way out. So now, if I create these other tweens, they should go ahead and match that sky. Let's see if it does. I'm going to go ahead and hit OK. It's going to create that. Now, it doesn't quite do that, but let's go ahead and drag it out anyway. I'm going to drag that all the way out to 165. We'll do it with the cactus. Oh, we got to unlock them first. Let's go and unlock everything. So the cactus, create a motion tween, and hit OK. And now the road, we do a motion tween. Hit OK. Our cowboy, a motion tween, and our cactus, create motion tween, OK. So I'm not going to worry about the mask just yet. We'll add the mask in there when we stretch them all out here. So let's go ahead and pull all these over to full length. So all of these are blue motion tweens. And for the mask, I'll go ahead and just click on that and hit F5 to extend the mask all the way out as well. Okay, so let's go ahead and start with the cowboy. I'll bring the cowboy out about, let's say, 30 some odd frames here. Go to 35, and we will drag him out to the center of the stage. There we go. That now sets our property keyframe at measure 35. And at measure 35, we're going to go ahead and start the cactus and everything else moving. So to get that to move, we need to trick Flash first. In order to get a property keyframe marked there, I just need to kind of just move it slightly, and that property keyframe will pop in. Let's try that again. Got to move it a little bit more than that. There we go. Property keyframe kicked in. Let's do the same thing with all the others. Here's the road. Just kind of move it just a little bit back and forth. Cactus in the background, a little bit back and forth. Bring it right back. Notice I'm bringing it right back to where it was. But this tricks Flash into giving us a property keyframe. So as our cowboy comes in, he stops there, and now our background is going to start moving. Let's change our perspective to 50%. This is going to give us some advantages, and you'll see that in just a second. Let's start with the background. It's only going to move just a little bit. So we'll bring this out to, say, around 100, and that'll give us a nice walk for him. So at 100, I've set my playhead there. I've gone to the ground level, and I'm going to move the ground just a little bit, probably to about there. And right here, we can actually see our path, and that's how long our path is. Now, when we go to our cactus on the same frame, we want that cactus to move just a little bit further than what the background did. So I'll pull that out maybe to about here. Let's see how long that is. That looks like it's almost twice as long, maybe a little bit more. Right about to there. So that's how long it is. Let's take a look at the other one. Shorter, that's a little bit longer. And now the road is going to go longer still. So let's go ahead and pull the road out. See how far, that might be too far. Let's go about maybe to there. And let's go ahead and take a look at that. It's from here to there. Okay, let's go to the cactus in the foreground. There it is. And we're going to pull those all the way over as far as we can take them. Probably right about to there. And that's pretty long. Let's see how that relates to the other. And if we scrub that, let's see what it looks like. So that's looking pretty good. I like that movement. Okay, now the cowboy. We're going to basically do the same thing again with him that we did with the backgrounds. We're at the very last frame of everything else moving. We're going to go ahead and select him. Just move him just a little bit just to get a keyframe. And now we're going to take him to the very end of our animation. And we're going to drag him right on off the stage. There we go. Okay, so let's take a look and see what that looks like in our viewer. So Command Return. He walks right off. Not bad. We're going to add a couple more things really quick here. First of all, I'll go back to full screen with this. We're going to hide our mask again. What we want to do next is we are going to add what is called easing. Easing is a method to where it will cause objects to ease in and ease out. So it's not so abrupt when the cowboy stops and everything else moves. So when I start with the cactus, if I go up here in my properties panel, I have ease. We're going to set all the easing to 40. So I give that a 40. Come down here to the cowboy. We're going to set the cowboy to a 40. We're going to put the road at a 40. Background cactus to 40. And our ground to a 40. So now that should show a little bit more of an ease as it moves in. And the last thing I want to do, we'll look at it all at once. I'm going to go to the cowboy, and notice with the cowboy we have his path right here. I'm going to hide a few things, the foreground at least, so I can see this. And let's go ahead and hide the cactus in the background. So I can actually go ahead and click on this and have it curve. So as he's walking, it's going to curve with the road just a little bit better. So I can pull that down so that will actually be curving along with the road as he goes. And that's the nice thing about with this motion tool. We can actually have it shape more with the way the action is going to go. So if we were to look at that in the motion editor, we also have easing in there as well. Plus we have all of these different controls for the different X, Y axis, even color effects, filters, and easing. Notice it shows simple easing at 40, but we can actually do more with the easing in this palette as well. I'll leave that where it is for now, but just so you know that that's where it is. We pretty much covered it. Let's take a look at it one more time. So I'll do a command return. And there's our man walking through the desert, and that's it for this episode of Flash Professional CS5 for East Career and Tech Academy. Okay, your assignment is to create an animated sprite, and you are to actually do this simplification where you only animate one leg, one arm, and you'll duplicate the other leg and the other arm. Also, I want to see the use of motion tweens throughout, unless you decide to use a shape tween. Everything else should be motion tweens. I also want to see you take advantage of editing the motion path and taking advantage of the multiplane or parallax scrolling technique that we did as well right here. So that's the assignment for this episode. Have fun with that. We'll catch you on the next episode.